والله كل الناس يمدحون الكويت وايد يمدح.
يعني ما تتذكرين؟
والمرحوم شاف الكويت، هو شاف الكويت من أول، أنا ما شفته، لكن جينا من المركب والمنظرة من المركب أحلى شيء. كل البيوت أبيض، كل الصيهد مال كسور الشيوخ يبين من البحر، كل نظيف وكل البلاد طيب. ومن أول التوفة دار مدار الكويت، السور إيه، والبيبان البرياسي، دروازة البرياسي ودروازة الهشامية ودروازة الجحرة.
Dixon House, a notable landmark in the heart of Kuwait, has a rich history rooted in the early 20th century. Originally serving as the residence and office of the British Commissioner, it witnessed a series of distinguished British delegates fulfilling this role. Today, Dixon House stands not only as a symbol of this historical relationship, but also as a vibrant culture center and museum celebrating its role in the ongoing narrative of Kuwait's heritage. Following Captain Shakespeare, several British delegates held the position of British Commissioner for varying periods. Colonel Grey served from 1915 to 1916, succeeded by Colonel Hamilton from 1916 to 1918, and then Captain Locke from 1918 to 1919. Captain McCollum followed, holding the position from 1919 to 1920. Colonel Moore then took over in 1920 and served until 1929, after which Colonel Harold Dixon assumed the role and continued until 1936. A significant event occurred in 1959 when the western wing of Dixon House collapsed due to structural damage. This incident necessitated the rebuilding of its walls and roof with reinforced concrete, replacing the traditional clay and wood materials. Today, Dixon House functions as a cultural center and museum dedicated to the history of Kuwaiti-British relations, managed by the National Council for Culture, Arts and Music. It remains under construction and re-innovation, reflecting its importance as a historical landmark in the state of Kuwait. Well, ladies and gentlemen, as you can all see, I'm currently based at Dixon House, which symbolizes the historical relationship between the United Kingdom and the state of Kuwait. Such house also symbolizes and is the center for British policy and research during the 20th century. Also, this house played a pivotal role for both strengthening and bolstering the relations between both nations, the United Kingdom and the state of Kuwait. And such relations will continue to bolster from all aspects and factors such as the economic, cultural, socio-political, diplomatic and all other factors in the upcoming and near future. This is Abdurrahman Al-Mhanna coming to you from the midst of Bay Dixon.
Good evening, everyone, and welcome to our special live coverage. I'm Yusuf Jamal Ibrahim. Joining me here in our studio is my colleague Badriya Saleh, covering this week's cultural event for both the state of Kuwait and the United Kingdom. Badriya.
Thanks, Yusuf. And ladies and gentlemen, as we saw in that previous report, the relations between the state of Kuwait and the United Kingdom go way back in history, and the Dixon House only stands as a testament to Kuwait's rich roots. The house also pays tribute to the enduring relationship between Kuwait and Britain. Within the walls of the landmark, visitors can explore an extensive collection spanning from the 19th century to the 1960s, a period that encompasses Kuwait's time under the British protectorate and its path to independence.
Indeed, Badriya, Violet Dixon, affectionately known as Saud, continued to reside in the house until 1990. After her husband's passing, her presence in the house added to its historical significance, preserving the legacy of the Dixon family's affection and contributions to Kuwait. Tonight, we're about to take you on a journey through the rich cultural ties that bind the state of Kuwait and the United Kingdom, from historical alliances to future collaborations in education and diplomacy. We're here to explore the unique relationship that has not only stood the test of time, but continues to thrive.
And from educational ties to media collaborations, in tonight's special program, we will cover it all, so stay with us.
The roots of mutual interests continue to extend between the state of Kuwait and the United Kingdom to recognize a successful joint mission of security, cultural, and economic cooperation. Based on solid pillars of partnership, the bilateral deep-rooted ties maintain their enhancement to grant the prosperity of both nations. Marking the 125th anniversary of the historical relations between the great partners.
Welcome back, our dear viewers. We're honored to have with us our distinction guest, Khalid Al Salal, a strategic expert known for his deep understanding of international relations, as well as geopolitical dynamics. With his extensive experience and insightful analysis, Mr. Khalid Al Salal is here to shed light on the enduring and multifaceted relationship between the state of Kuwait and the United Kingdom. Please join me in welcoming Mr. Khalid Al Salal. Mr. Khalid, thank you, first of all, for joining us here today. We are pleased to have you with us, and we want to dig for many questions, especially with your expertise. We hope to get the answers from you.
Sure, it's my pleasure to be on this episode, a special edition of episode, and it's really I'm so happy to join you, especially for this program, for British and Kuwaiti anniversary for 125 years ago. I'm delighted to show what I have known through the whole
throughout those years.
Yes, of course.
We are very pleased to have you here with us, Mr. Khalid. Mr. Khalid, before we start, we know that you're a strategic expert. Can you please tell us more about the historical ties, especially Dixon House?
Dixon House is a symbol of Kuwait and British relationship. Most Kuwaiti families from long time ago, they always talk about the Dixon House and how this symbol been as a Kuwait-British house. This considered is very important place for a history, especially between these two nations. Dixon's, after the signing the treaty, the Anglo-British Kuwaiti treaty, when it's been this agreement signed in 1899, Sheikh Mubarak al-Sabah, when he felt that there is an external danger on Kuwait, that he go to Britain for protection for this land. So this Dixon House, following this treatment, came like after 2 years or 3 years after this agreement, and it becomes like a British political commissioner place, where that Colonel Harold and his wife Violet, Harold Dixon and his wife Violet, that they were very close to the ruler of Kuwait at that time, and to the families of Kuwait as well. So when they did this experience with them and become from the Britain in government at that time, and calling that these people, they should be the representative of British government during that time, closing to the ruler of Kuwait. So Dixon House became the symbol of many things, not only political side. It became also the first post office in Kuwait in 1915. And also it became in 1929 as like an embassy of British, because it was the first place to be a commissioner in place of Britain.
So
government.
from a post office to being an embassy here in Kuwait.
Like an embassy.
Similar to an
Similar
embassy.
because it was as a political commissioner that time.
By sharing both cultures through
both cultures, yes.
that place.
Yes. Later on, it becomes as a museum after when Colonel Harold Dixon died, and he was buried in Kuwait as well. And Sheikh Abdullah Salim told Saud, it's called Saud Dixon,
Correct.
His wife, Saud.
Saud, she's known for
His son Saud is a Kuwaiti name, Arabic name, and he asked her if he continue staying in Kuwait, not to leave, because she's part of the history of Kuwaiti-British history. And so she did continue until she died later. And this place become a museum, and they make like exhibitions and this and as well. There is one more thing upon this place. They were like making exhibition and celebrating for the King George the Sixth, as when his wedding, they make a stamp, and it's already in this museum or Dixon's house. So
so Dixon House is a landmark place to be carried on for future generations to know more about the history and how it all started and why it started.
Yes.
Mr. Khalid, since it's the cultural week, especially here in Kuwait, we want to know how does it serve as a strategic interest for both countries, and what are the strategic objectives behind hosting it?
There are so many things, and I'm talking, if you're talking about making more enhancement and more progress for this relation between Kuwait and Britain, there are so many levels and underneath this one. It's called on security and defense and culture and education and investment and so many things that underneath this cultural week, British Kuwaiti Cultural Week. And it makes also more cooperation for the types of media. And I'm talking in Kuwait, we have very famous like in the theaters and in the singers and actors, and that they were joining British Kuwaiti culture in London, city of London, a few years ago. So now it's become more effective after these few years to play another type of culture that's been progressed after these few years with the cooperation with both parties in these two nations. So there are so many things also we can talk about later on.
Correct.
Yes.
So that cooperation, the objective behind it, that yearly, the Cultural Week is on yearly basis. It just reunites both nations together, and they discuss many fields, like you have mentioned,
yes.
education, military, finance, security, cyber security.
Yes.
Mr.
And cyber crimes also.
Crime.
There are, it's going, that's a new field that
Correct.
the Kuwaiti and British cooperation that they might later on to be effective and to supervise also the center of cybercrime in Kuwait.
Mr. Khalid, we're going to get more into depth,
yes.
especially on that topic, especially
yes.
the cybercrime cooperation. But before that, we're going to move over to my colleague,
yes.
Badriya. We're going to head over to Badriya to showcase the deep-rooted relations that's shared by our two nations.
The roots of mutual interests continue to extend between the state of Kuwait and the United Kingdom to recognize a successful joint mission of security, cultural, and economic cooperation. Based on solid pillars of partnership, the bilateral deep-rooted ties maintain their enhancement to grant the prosperity of both nations. Marking the 125th anniversary of the historical relations between the great partners.
Welcome back to our special program. Kicking straight off, believing in the importance of celebrating this landmark occasion, the state of Kuwait and the United Kingdom's respective governments have jointly agreed to declare 2024 the year of Kuwaiti-British partnership, as per the agreement signed on the 29th of August 2023. Among the activities, the Kuwait Heritage Society, in cooperation with the National Council of Culture, Arts and Letters, is organizing an exhibition entitled Kuwaiti-British Relations at the Kuwaiti Embassy in London. In addition to that, Al Sadu Society is set to launch an exhibition that is part of the celebrations in the 125 years of Kuwaiti-British partnership. The close and deeply rooted relationship between the two countries has grown steadily over the past century and a quarter, as the two countries have supported each other to tackle regional and global challenges and to defend and promote their common values. Let's take a look in this special report.
In a landmark decision underscoring the deep and enduring ties between Kuwait and the United Kingdom, the government of both nations have declared 2024 as the year of Kuwaiti-British partnership. This declaration follows the agreement signed on August 29th of 2023 during the visit of His Highness the Emir, Sheikh Mish'al al-Ahmad al-Jabir al-Sabah, may Allah protect and bless him. The initiative marks 125 years of collaboration, friendship, and mutual support between the two countries. As part of the year-long celebration, a series of events and exhibitions are being organized to showcase the rich history and cultural connection between the two nations. The Kuwait Heritage Society, in collaboration with the National Council for Art, Culture and Letters, is organizing an exhibition titled Kuwaiti-British Relations. This exhibition will take place at the Kuwaiti Embassy in London and aims to highlight the historical milestones and evolving diplomatic ties.
There's also been a lot of activity down at Kuwait's National Library. So we had a wonderful exhibition of 125 photographs, specially selected to be able to highlight different important milestones in our relationship. Some of it has been to do with conflict, a lot of it has been to do with specific steps forward in our bilateral relationship. But again, it was like going back in time, looking at some of these images that people haven't seen for a long time or perhaps have never been publicly displayed. We also had a tree planting in the garden of the National Library to create a sort of very serene 125 themed garden where people could sit quietly and reflect on relationships with the UK or just read maybe a book about the UK or anything that they would like to do.
Another significant event is the exhibition organized by Sedo Society, which will celebrate the 125th anniversary of Kuwaiti-British partnership. This exhibition will feature Beit al-Sha'r, a mobile cultural space that embodies the nomadic tradition of Kuwait. Through this exhibition, visitors will gain insights into the rich tradition of nomadic culture and the pivotal role of the tent in Bedouin life.
So a series of exhibitions and different displays of heritage crafts, looking at some of the older traditions that Kuwait has. And that, I think there'll be opportunities for people to learn things like the approach to Sadu weaving. So as well as looking at things, I think it'll be quite interactive as well.
The relationship between Kuwait and the United Kingdom has grown steadily over the past century and quarter. Marked by mutual support and collaboration, both countries have worked together to address regional and global challenges, striving to defend and promote shared values such as peace, stability, and cultural exchange. These celebratory events not only honor the historical ties, but also aim to strengthen future cooperation between Kuwait and the United Kingdom, as the two nations continue to navigate a complex global landscape. The 2024 celebration is a unique opportunity to reflect on the achievements of the past while looking forward to a future of continued collaboration and cultural exchange.
As promised, this live coverage will tackle various aspects of this monumental occasion. So let's shift gears now and head to our correspondent Abdullah Al-Ajmi, who's attending the Kuwaiti-British Historical Milestones lecture held at the National Library. Abdullah, thanks for joining us. Tell us about the event that you're attending and how it's showcasing the revival of the Kuwaiti-British ties. And in your opinion, Abdullah, what would you say is the highlight of the lecture?
Yes, Badri. First of all, good evening to you and Yusuf and everyone else, and our esteemed guest and everyone else in the studio. Today we're at the Kuwait National Library celebrating together with the NCCAL, which is the National Council for Culture, Arts and Literature, alongside the British Embassy also are present here, celebrating the long historical ties between Kuwait and the United Kingdom, which have now reached a new milestone of 125 years of history between our two nations. And also there is an exhibition here regarding this milestone, which showcases different artifacts and archived documents explaining our long history together with the United Kingdom. And also there is a lecture going on right now actually by the researcher in the British and Kuwaiti relations, Isa Deshti, talking about the milestones achieved during our long history with the United Kingdom. And also, we are here present celebrating together the British-Kuwait relations at the National Library. And also, the lecture is going to the milestones of the Kuwait and British history together. And now back to you at the studio.
That's our correspondent Abdullah Al-Ajmi from the National Library. Thank you, Abdullah, for the insights.
Thank you, Abdullah and Badriya, for sharing those details with us. And now we're back with Mr. Khalid Salal. Mr. Khalid, once again, thank you for joining us. Before we dig into more deep questions, we want to talk about this year. This year marks 125 years since the Anglo-Kuwaiti Agreement of 1899, all the way back. How have the relations between Kuwait and the UK evolved since this historic agreement?
When we're talking about 125 years, of course that there are so many events that have been through this time. The main event for this, it was the oil when it was discovered and started production in 1938. And there is a Kuwait oil company that was established with the supervised from the British. That was the main thing that happened during that time when Kuwait became a different stage and completely becoming like a state of Kuwait. So the diplomatic way, when it started it, real diplomatic, and the first diplomatic way it took since 125 years ago, since 1899. So there are so many also things beside oil discovery at that time. It was going for Kuwait Airways. They helped Kuwait for making aviation and started like in 1952. And when it's called the British BOT or BOT at that time become arriving in Kuwait and help to publish this type of aviation in Kuwait. So it was in the area, it was only Kuwait at that time starting this, and then going to Saudi Arabia and other countries. But the British, they made a good job at that time for making a new ways of making a state of Kuwait becoming in so many fields that depend on itself, and later on it goes for starting for the new infrastructure in Kuwait. And when remember that city of Ahmadi, it was built by the British, and it was like a typical city in one of the towns in London. So
Correct.
city of Ahmadi was built in this type and the type of English
And it's still
style.
preserving
Yes.
that architecture.
Yeah.
Correct.
So and anyway, we could talk in the field of education, especially at that time when they started missions to England for some engineers and medicine fields and agriculture and other types of fields. So many missions has been started going to England and be helped to provide equipments and so many types of fields in other beside medicine and education. There were some in agriculture and in oil fields and also in the environment and for the infrastructure, as I said.
Correct. Those are just a few.
Yes.
We're going to get into more details.
Yes.
But the main big things were going back all the way to oil, to Kuwait's aviation, Kuwait Airways,
Yes.
going to the infrastructure, Al Ahmadi city,
Yes.
which still preserves the same architecture as it did when it was first incorporated.
Yes.
That looks exactly the same as one of the cities in London, as
Exactly.
you mentioned.
Yes.
Before we delve deeper into more fields of cooperation, especially like education, medicine, we want to talk about the historical visit by His Highness the Emir, Sheikh Mishal Al-Ahmed Al-Jabr Al-Sabah, may Allah protect and bless him, to London in August of last year as an official guest of His Majesty's government that triggers the deep-rooted relations between the two nations. How would you describe the current strategic I don't want to talk about the current strategic. Let's talk more about also previous visits and the importance of this one.
Yeah, there are so many visits, for official visits, right there. The Emir of Kuwait, Sheikh Mishal, when he was Crown Prince,
Correct.
and he was the Emir now, and also that all the Emirs of Kuwait in the past before they
have
visited. But what makes this special, this visit, is making a new enhancement and beginning of new type of investment to make a progress and development and more strengthen to the Kuwaiti Fund Office that or the Kuwait Investment Office in London.
Correct.
Which represent the Kuwaiti Sovereign Fund Office, which is the first sovereign fund office in the world that Kuwaiti was
to
established.
be created.
Yes,
so
was
the
established
Kuwait Fund Office is the first sovereign fund office.
Office was established in the world. It was the first in the world in 1952
by Kuwait.
By Kuwait,
correct.
And they made it. They held it in London, city of London. So still going, and they celebrated by the way last year in 2023 that's 70 years, or in 1922 70 years anniversary.
Last year, during
or
August.
last year.
They celebrated 70 years last August, I believe, on the 23rd of August of 2023.
Yes. So now they will make development or more enhancement for this office to go into other types of investment.
More collaboration.
More collaboration in other types, in other fields. So Sheikh Mishal, Emir of Kuwait, Hafidhullah, he's doing in other milestones in targeting that Kuwait becoming a business center, making between Asia and Europe and the other world. So this office is still going as one of the main offices in the world that holding a big amount of investment toward the industrial, for investment and banks and touristics and so many things that holding in investment in Europe and in Asia and in Africa and South America and North America and the other world.
So Kuwait Fund Office was established 70 years ago. It has a very strong reputation.
Yes.
And the collaboration has been rejuvenated, as you mentioned.
Yes.
And also you mentioned earlier off camera that office created a lot of job opportunities over in the UK.
Yes.
It has created infrastructure over in the UK.
That's true.
And you mentioned something, that office, since the beginning,
yes, and this office, excuse me, in 1952, that was after the Second World War, in 1948. So England at that time needed like type of assistant,
financial assistance,
financial, to become after the war. So this office, when was established, as you mentioned earlier, that gave opportunities for job opportunities for because there are so many projects has been taken by this office in England, not only City of London, even the other cities, major cities in UK, and they also go into so many sectors in UK. Beside going investing with banks and with industries, many industries, and also in tourist investments and in hotels and in parks and infrastructures and so many things. That's what let British government gave this office that a diplomatic immunity. And usually it was not giving this only for embassies.
And while there was not a current Kuwaiti embassy at that time?
No, in 1952 there was no embassy until was took independence.
But yet that office, the Kuwait Fund Office, was granted a diplomatic immunity.
As a diplomatic community, and still that has this
immunity is
immunity. since that time.
That's an interesting
that
fact.
will you will not have to pay taxes for investment. This is a benefit, advantage for the Kuwait that was given from British government for thanking them to making this help after the Second World War.
Mr. Khalid, that's an interesting fact, and this information should be shared for future generations as well, and thank you for sharing it with us. We're going to move all the way to my colleague Badriya to take a phone call, and we'll get back with more questions. Sure. Let's take a quick phone call with our colleague Badriya.
The roots of mutual interests continue to extend between the state of Kuwait and the United Kingdom to recognize a successful joint mission of security, cultural, and economic cooperation. Based on solid pillars of partnership, the bilateral deep-rooted ties maintain their enhancement to grant the prosperity of both nations. Marking the 125th anniversary of the historical relations between the great partners.
Welcome back, dear viewers, to the special occasion and special coverage of the 125-year partnership between Kuwait and the UK. In our next report, the Students Exchange Program has been a transformative experience for Kuwaiti students studying in the UK, offering them a unique opportunity to immerse themselves in a different culture while receiving a world-class education. Participating students have embraced the vibrant and diverse environment of the UK, which is well known for its prestigious universities and rich academic traditions. Studying in cities such as Manchester, Newcastle, and Edinburgh, current Kuwaiti students and alumnus have enjoyed not only academic challenges, but also the chance to experience the social and cultural dynamics that make those marvelous cities and what they have to offer. Let's take a look in the special report.
The United Kingdom and Kuwait are proudly celebrating 125 years of robust diplomatic and trade relations, reflecting a long-standing partnership built on mutual respect and shared interests. This significant milestone highlights the deep and enduring connection between the two nations, transcending political and economic interactions to embrace a rich cultural exchange.
Which highlights how long-standing the UK commercial relationship is with the state of Kuwait. It was interesting to see the focus on some of the medical and pharmaceutical sectors, as well as transport and also machinery. So it's interesting to look back at the UK's heritage around manufacturing, which we're still strong in now. The Kuwait Investment Office was established in London in February 1953, so it celebrated its 70th birthday last year, and we had a wonderful event to be able to highlight the successes of that office. It was originally established as the Kuwait Investment Board, and then it's changed its name after the Kuwait Investment Authority was established in Kuwait, and then the London outfit became the Kuwait Investment Office.
One of the most notable aspects of this relationship is the strong academic exchange between Kuwait and the UK. The UK is renowned globally for its academic excellence, making it a top choice for Kuwaiti students pursuing higher education.
So I studied my bachelor's in pharmacy in Liverpool John Moores University, and I did my master's in King's College London. While studying in the UK, I got the opportunity to do a lot of hospital and community pharmacy placements, and that definitely helped me once I worked. I noticed that I was able to adapt easily to the work environment. This is due to the high quality of education that is provided in the UK.
These students consistently report positive experiences, praising the high quality of education and vibrant multicultural environment they encounter. Many Kuwaiti students, after completing their studies in the UK, return to the state of Kuwait, bringing with them valuable qualifications and skills that contribute to their professional growth and the development of their home country.
In the beginning, it was scary because, I was 17 years old when I first moved to the UK, but it was exciting at the same time. And once I settled, I really enjoyed life in the UK. So people in the UK, they're very friendly and welcoming, so that made it really easy to settle in. In addition, there's a multicultural diversity, so I got to meet people from all over the world. I'm currently taking over the surgical round, so I'm responsible for every inpatient and outpatient prescription in the ward, and I get to counsel the patient on proper use of medication.
Several Kuwaiti students expressed strong desire to pursue their studies in the UK, citing the country's reputation for academic excellence, the enriching living, and the convenience of travel between Kuwait and the UK that makes it an appealing destination for higher education.
I will study a master's degree in clinical pharmacy, international politics and policy, and UCL, University London of College of London. Yeah. So exactly, UK university are known of high academic reputation, and just being admitted one of them, it opened up numerous opportunity after graduation.
As Kuwait and the UK commemorate this landmark anniversary, the continued emphasis on academic collaboration underscores the importance of their relationship and its positive impact on both countries' prosperity and cultural enrichment. Well, the viewers, you've all heard the students' remarks on the UK. Some of them have studied in the UK and gave a positive experience and advice for students to study in the United Kingdom, and some other students are seeking to study their masters in the United Kingdom. And also, as a reporter in the Ministry of Information and a graduate, a master's graduate from the United Kingdom, I advise students to study in the UK for its academic excellence. This is Abdurrahman Al-Mhanna reporting for the News Department.
Take this moment to thank Abdurrahman and all our correspondents for their hard work in helping us cover this special event. Now we'll go back to my colleague Yusuf in the studio for our next segment.
Thank you, Badria. Before we get back to Mr. Khalid Al-Salal, we're going to move to our correspondent Abdullah Al-Ajmi at the National Library with a special guest to tell us more about the Cultural Week event. Abdullah?
Yes, Yusuf, I'm with you.
Abdullah, can you share more on the latest updates and what's going on at the Cultural Center currently?
Actually, we're still here. Yes, Yusuf, thank you for having me today. We're still here at the National Library celebrating the 125 years of relations with the United Kingdom, and we just finished listening to a lecture by the British Kuwait relations expert and researcher Isa Deshti, talking to us about the different milestones that have been through with the United Kingdom. And for further details, I have with me today Stuart Summers, MBE and Charge d'Affaires at the British Embassy in Kuwait. Mr. Summers, we've just finished listening to the lecture. Can you tell us what stood out for you during the lecture, from the milestones of the Kuwait and UK relationship?
Well, I think, it was a really interesting lecture, and it just demonstrated the length and enduring relationship that the UK and Kuwait enjoy. And obviously there's been many, many important milestones to choose from, and 1961 being an important, if not the most important one, but also obviously given the year we're in, 1899, when we signed the first Anglo-Kuwaiti agreement which set up diplomatic relations between our countries, which I think was the one that stands out for me this particular year, given the year that we're in. But other ones also, I think, stood out. The mention of the political and sort of military support during the liberation of Kuwait. Other aspects that we are just about a year since the visit by His Highness the Emir to London, where we saw him signing an important investment agreement, and also which itself marked the 70th anniversary of the foundation of the Kuwait Fund in London. So I think lots of milestones within milestones.
Thank you for your detailed answer, Mr. Summers. One more question. We know that the UK Cultural Week in Kuwait is coming up soon. Can you tell us what can we anticipate during this event?
Well, thank you. I mean, I would say today also marks the start of the Cultural Week in London, where the ambassador is at the moment, enjoying some interesting events organised by your embassy in London. Ours is on the 10th of November, the week beginning the 10th of November. We have quite a few exciting events still planned. We're still working through the details. But one thing I would say, one exciting event is the visit by the Royal Philharmonic Concert Orchestra that I think our Kuwaiti partners here have put on, and who are having 3 nights of events at the Jack. And I'd encourage everyone to check out our social media pages, UK and Kuwait, for further details as we get closer to that date.
Well, thank you so much, Mr. Summers, for being with us in this live stream. It was an honor having you with us.
Thank you very much.
Today.
Thank you for having me.
Well, you've heard it from Mr. Summers, the Charge Affairs in the British Embassy in Kuwait. And with that, I will hope that we will have more years to come with a good relationship with the UK and Kuwait. Now back to you, Yusuf, in the studio.
Thank you, Abdullah, and thank you, Mr. Summers. I'm looking forward actually to know more about the lecture that you were in during our phone call after the show. Thank you, Abdullah. Dear viewers, we were honored to interview Mr. Abdullah Sneida, Vice Chairman of the Administrative Board of National Union of Kuwaiti Students UK branch, to discuss their ongoing efforts in supporting students and enhancing educational opportunities in Kuwait, portray their role in cultural exchange, and highlight the strong relationship between Kuwait and the UK, particularly in the field of education. Here's what he had to say.
For Kuwaiti students, one of the basic things is to acquire the language. And for a British student or British people, it is to hear about a new culture for some of them. Also, all Kuwaiti students are the best ambassadors for the state of Kuwait. The 125th anniversary of the launch of official diplomatic relation between the two friendly countries represents, and over those decades and years, a rich record, various areas of cooperation and strategic partnership has been recorded. The role of the National Union of Kuwaiti Students is to enhance current and future cooperation through visits, events, and high-level initiatives. There are educational programs and workshops planned by the Union, such as annual conferences attended by ambassadors of the state of Kuwait and head of the culture attaché, and other programs in various regions of Britain, so that we can reach the largest possible number.
And we're back to the live coverage that celebrates the UK's and the state of Kuwait's Cultural Week with our strategic expert, Mr. Khalid Al-Salal. Mr. Khalid, before we end the episode for today, we have a few more questions. Let's talk more about the fields that we discussed earlier, that there is an ongoing cooperation. One of the first fields that we want to talk about, the first field actually, is the military cooperation. Can you tell us more about that?
Military cooperation between Kuwait and England, it was the first step that Kuwait took in any other country.
Mm-hmm.
So let's say the Kuwaiti army, since it was established, the British were there. So they provided Kuwait with all equipments and ammunitions and weapons and all the training and exercises that took place in order to establish these units in the army. And then it continues to provide with the Air Force and with the Navy. So it become after when Kuwait become independence in 1961, after there is a danger came to Kuwait at that time, even though that in June 1961, Sheikh Abdullah Salem, he cancelled the agreement in 1899. So that Iraqi ex-president Abdul Karim Qasim at that time in 1961, he tried to take over Kuwait and try to invade Kuwait. So when he sent his army in north of Kuwait and south of Iraq, so he thought that he could take advantage of cancelling the agreement that was signed in 1899. But he forgot that British, that was the proof that the strong relation between Kuwait and Great Britain. When the second day that was happened, that he sent his army to north of Kuwait. So UK, they sent 5,000 of their soldiers right away the second day, even when there was no agreement. So the protection for Kuwait was the main goal, to help Kuwait, and there is a special relation between these two nations, especially these governments. Also, His Highness the Emir, Sheikh Michel, by the way, some people don't know about this, that he was among the soldiers that defended Kuwait in 1961 with these forces that pushed Abdul Karim Qasim away from this, he's trying to take over Kuwait. And also Sheikh Nawaf al-Ahmed, he was there, and Sheikh Badr Muhammad al-Ahmed. And there were so many of the people of Kuwait that they took weapon and they trying to. That was after when Kuwait was called one of the members in the Arab League. So the cooperation, military cooperation, become more effective after 1961 and becoming like a super agreements, big giant agreements after that. So and become the Kuwaiti army become stronger at that time. And Kuwait, state of Kuwait as independent state, called up that Great Britain and British government is the not only friends or like partnership, but there are like a man-to-man with the Kuwait, even though no agreement, no nothing, until what happened in the 2nd of August 1990, when Iraqi invasion of Kuwait. Right away, Great Britain, within the first allied forces with the United States, that sent a very big number of their forces in Air Force and Land Force and Navy to Kuwait, to Saudi Arabia, and then liberation of Kuwait at that time. So there is no need any agreement for defense, but Kuwait did, after liberation of Kuwait in 1991, that made an MOU with the government of British government for 10 years and to renew every 10 years for like a defense on security agreements for that, beside the other 5 countries in the Security Council in the United Nations. So when we talk about cooperation, there are exercises and there are training and always there with so both sides, whether in Kuwait or in England.
Mr. Khalid, thank you for reminding us of those true facts throughout those past years and sharing that insight with us. Mr. Khalid, we're going to move back to my colleague Badriya to have a phone call, and then we're going to, if we have some time, we're going to take another question about education. Okay. Ladies and gentlemen, let's go move to my colleague Badriya for a phone call.
Thank you, Yusuf. Dear viewers, we are delighted to be joined by Mr. Khalid Abdullah, Head of Business Development in the Middle East and West Asia region and BBC World Service. Thank you for joining us, Mr. Abdullah. Tell us, how has the BBC World Service's radio presence in Kuwait influenced the media landscape in the region, and what role does it play in promoting international understanding and information exchange? It seems that we have some technical difficulties. We will try to get back to you on this more once we reconnect.
The roots of mutual interests continue to extend between the state of Kuwait and the United Kingdom to recognize a successful joint mission of security, cultural, and economic cooperation. Based on solid pillars of partnership, the bilateral deep-rooted ties maintain their enhancement to grant the prosperity of both nations. Marking the 125th anniversary of the historical relations between the great partners.
For joining us, dear viewers. Hopefully we have Mr. Abdullah on the line with us. I hope you can hear me, Mr. Abdullah. Could you tell us a bit about the BBC World Service's radio presence in Kuwait and the landscape it plays in the region, and what role it plays in promoting international understanding and information exchange? Well, we'd like to thank you for joining us. We seem to still be having technical difficulties, but we'd like to thank our special guests. And right now we are moved to London, where Dr. Saad Shahidad, the lecturer in the Middle East Politics and International Relations. Thanks for joining us for this interview. Dr. Saad, how have historical events shaped the strong and fraternal relationship between Kuwait and the UK? And what are the key factors that continue to strengthen this bond in contemporary times?
I think if we look historically speaking, first it goes back to 1899, where the Kuwaiti-Anglo agreement was signed between the two sides, which shaped the relationship between them, where the United Kingdom took the responsibility to protect Kuwait against any threat. And there is some cooperation on exploring and on the oil side and other trade issues. So it started back in 1899, and it went alongside since then. And the landmark of the strong historical relationship between the two countries focus on 1961, when the threat of Iraq to take over Kuwait. So the Britain, the United Kingdom was there to protect Kuwait against any threat. Then the main manifestation of the strong historical relationship came out in the liberation of Kuwait from the Iraqi invasion, where Margaret Thatcher, at the time the then Prime Minister of the UK, said our friends of Kuwait, we need to support them, and they took a leading role with the United States and other Arab countries, including Egypt, to liberate Kuwait. So the historical relationship came mainly on military basis, but it moves around to trade, education, tourism, and other stuff. And the main component to strengthen the relationship came out of based on friendship, respect, partnership, mutual benefit. And this is the reason after the agreement was signed in August, 29th of August 2023, it's called the 2024 year is called the partnership year, where based on equality between the two countries, respect of their sovereignty and mutual benefit where there is many aspects of the relationship, not only military aspects, but on business, trade, and other issues.
And Doctor, can you tell us in what ways do Kuwait and the UK collaborate in areas such as security, trade, and cultural exchange, and how does such partnerships contribute to regional stability and mutual respect?
There's many levels. If we look at the investment and trade, we can remember that the Kuwaiti Investment Office was established in the UK in 1953. And His Highness, the Prince of Kuwait, Sheikh Mashal, came and to landmark the anniversary of the 70 years of the Kuwait Investment Office, which is managing about $250 billion of investment. And they choose Britain because they trust Britain. There is a good relationship between Britain and Kuwait. So this is one of the main angle of or factors of the strong relationship on investment side. On the other side, the trade volume between the two countries reached in 2024 about $5 billion. And this increased by many times over the years. In addition to that, there is more than about 10,000 Kuwaiti students study in the Kuwaiti universities and colleges. In addition to that, tourism, like Kuwaiti, they are one of the main income for the tourism in Britain. The Kuwaiti, one of the highest tourists coming to Britain. They own properties. In addition to that, there is cooperation on the business level. There is Kuwaiti-British Business Center was established by the help of Britain to encourage the British investment in Kuwait. And about more than 50 companies, British companies work in Kuwait, and there is thousands of British work in Kuwait. In addition to that, there is
in Middle East politics, Dr. Saeed Al-Shahida, lecturer in Middle East politics and international relations. Thank you so much for your time and your insights. Ladies and gentlemen, hopefully joining us now on the line is Mr. Khalid Abdullah, the Head of Business Development and Middle East and West Asia region in BBC World Service. Thanks for joining us, Dr. Abdullah. Could you tell us how BBC World Service's radio presence in Kuwait has influenced the media landscape in the region and what role it plays in promoting international understanding and information exchange?
Hello, hi. I hope you can hear me okay. First of all, thank you so much for having me in such an important week for Kuwait. The BBC has started the relationship with Kuwait back in 2001, and it's almost like 2 decades. It has been an absolutely fantastic relationship in terms of media exchange and working together. We started by launching our radio services in BBC